Should you buy the M1 MacBook Air now or wait for the M2 MacBook Air in a couple of months? Listen, I'm going to be honest. No one can really tell you what to do here. It's really going to be up to you, especially since we don't really know exactly what the MacBook Air 2 is going to be. We have some speculation, which I will, of course, speculate about, but we don't really know. So listen, at the end of the day, you're going to have to make this decision on your own. I'm just going to give you some information and my own personal opinion. You can take that with a grain of salt, watch some other videos about it. But I'm going to at least try to tell you if you should buy an M1 MacBook Air now or wait and buy an M2 MacBook Air later. And I'll try to do all of that right after this.
This is, you listening to Travis.
What up, players? Welcome back. And for all you new people, welcome. My name's Travis and I do tech videos every single week. And today we're going to talk about whether or not you should buy the MacBook Air now or maybe the new or better one in a couple of months. Let's get into the video. So when the M1 MacBook Air came out, it was really hailed as one of the best laptop values you could buy. As a matter of fact, I actually did a review and a couple of videos on it, and I had to agree. Even though I was a Windows user and it was my first ever MacBook, I was highly impressed. And the fact that you can actually put Windows on it made it kind of a no-brainer. Like you could have Mac OS and Windows on the same piece of hardware. And I know you Mac lovers are going to say, why would you ever do that? But listen, it's the gateway drug for most people. And the MacBook Air is excellent for that. But it's been out for a while now, which means the new version of the MacBook Air should be coming out here real soon. And the MacBook Air with the M2 chip, the M2 processor built on the A15 is supposed to be juicy. But there's some things about the new MacBook Air that you may or may not like. So we want to take a dive into that and see if it's something that you actually should wait for or if you should go ahead and buy now. So if videos like that sound good to you, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're new here and just hit the like button if you're old here. Are you old here? So first up, elephant in the room, it's a newer system on a chip. It's going to be faster. Yes, we already know that. The M2 is going to be faster than the M1 and possibly even more power efficient, which is kind of a scary thing to think about because you were getting upwards of 18 hours and more on the MacBook Pro last year, the M1 variety. So can it get even more battery efficient? Possibly. That's actually one of the reasons why the M series of processors are so amazing. The ability to perform at a low wattage usage. Like that's amazing, which is why you're getting incredible battery life on a laptop that normally you have to pay multiple thousands of dollars for at the performance to price to wattage ratio. There's a lot of math involved in that. That's a lot. You got to put some math together on that. Let's talk about the MacBook Air M1 first. Look, we already know all about it. It's been out for about a year now. All the performance specs are out there. All the reviews, even reviews I've done. It's an incredible machine with incredible battery life, a screen. And by the way, the display on this laptop is absolutely excellent. It's nothing special. It's not like a mini LED or anything like that. But for whatever reason, when I saw it, that thing looked great. I still can't get over how good the screen is on the M1 MacBook Air. Go to an Apple store and see it for yourself. I'm trying to tell you, it's darn good. But of course, one of the weak parts of the MacBook Air is the fact that it only had 2 USB-C ports, nothing else. You had to buy like dongles and stuff if you needed to put like an SD card or something like that in. Now, for a lot of people who would be actually going after the MacBook Air, this might not be a problem because the MacBook Air line of laptops is really entry level. It's meant for a very specific type of person. The lower price and the performance and the battery life are typically what's going to bring people who maybe have never owned a MacBook before into the fold, so to speak. So for that reason, it's absolutely excellent. And like I said earlier, if you are a Windows user and you kind of want to see what Mac OS is like, you can absolutely install Windows on the MacBook. I actually did that. I'll put a link in the description below for that video in case you're ever wondering. And that was one of the reasons why I actually moved forward with getting a MacBook. I was always curious, but I didn't want to leave behind Windows just in case I didn't like the operating system. And I'll tell you right now, you probably won't need to install Windows. Now, as far as capabilities are concerned, the power that this thing has is absolutely insane. And even today, in late 2021, early 2022, it's still a beast. You have your incredible battery life. You have the ability to take large video files, if that's the thing you're kind of into, and edit them in the Final Cut, even on the 8 GB version. Now, of course, one thing you will want to consider is whether or not you're going to need more RAM, because unlike previous MacBooks, you won't be able to upgrade the RAM or the storage in this. For me, RAM is more of an issue than storage because with storage, you can always use like an external drive, but RAM is you either got the RAM or you don't. But I'm just gonna say this, I've already reviewed it. I'm gonna leave a link for it in the description below for that review so you can get all the ins and outs of it. But the bottom line is this, if you need a laptop that's gonna last you all day, that's gonna perform great, has a great display, and is absolutely slickety split fast, the M1 MacBook Air is available to you right now. And sometimes you can even get some really good deals on it. I actually suggest looking at Apple's website under the refurbished section, and every so often those pop up there for a pretty darn good price. I really can't think of any reason why, if you need a laptop anytime soon, you wouldn't just buy that. Well, of course, the M2 processor will be faster, we know that, perhaps more battery efficient, but there's some pros and cons with this next update of MacBook. Let's start with the fact that this thing might actually have a notch. And I actually believe that the notch could happen on the MacBook Air. The thing is, this is aimed at consumers and they're used to having a notch on their phone. I was actually more surprised that the MacBook Pro, the newest ones that came out, actually had a notch. That didn't make so much sense. This makes more sense. I absolutely believe that your average consumer will absolutely just look at the notch and be like, yeah, it looks like my phone, that's fine. And if Apple's willing to put the notch on a professional level laptop, I just don't see why they would shy away from doing it on the entry level. Now, whether or not they actually will, we'll have to wait and see, but I would literally not be surprised if they do. So if that kind of bothers you, then you have to get the latest, the current MacBook Air. M1 because it doesn't have a notch. Now, as I talked about, the M1 MacBook Air has a great display, but this display on the newer MacBook Air is probably going to be better. Have you ever heard of mini LED? It's the same type of display technology that's on the new iPad Pro 12.9 inch and the new MacBook Pros. It's spectacular, especially for HDR content. It looks absolutely ridiculously insane. But I would not be surprised if they don't use that technology because once again, the MacBook Air is for entry level and they haven't put anything like that on an entry level device. I don't know if it's gonna matter. And the price that they're gonna have to add to that laptop in order to incorporate that is gonna take it kind of out of the entry level zone. Do you like white bezels? Well, I hope you do because it looks like the new MacBook Air is gonna have them. So if you don't know what that's gonna look like, go check out the M1 iMacs that are available. You can go see them at a Best Buy or an Apple store. If you're not sure what a white bezel on a computer is gonna look like, that's what it looks like. And it's not too bad, it's not terrible. But on a laptop, it might look a little weird. Now, I'm a sucker for colors, which is why I'm buying an iMac, because I think those things look so awesome in their color variations. And it looks like the new MacBook Air will also come in multiple different colors. And that alone might make me buy, I can't stand the fact that I'm saying this out loud, but that might make me want to buy one, the colorful laptops. Again, this makes sense because this is aimed at a different type of user. It's not the professional level where you're going to put these weird colors out and they're just not going to be accepted. These are again for the people who are just your average consumer. And I believe they're going to accept that. If you like MagSafe, and Apple seems to have fallen back in love with MagSafe, you're in luck. Looks like we're going to get that on the new MacBook Air as well. And let me tell you something, that's a great thing. Totally up for that. MagSafe has been super awesome so far on my iPhone 13 Pro Max. I'm super into the ecosystem of that. And I'm all on board. You got me. You listen, you don't got to sell me on it. You already sold me on it. Now, is it going to get 120 hertz? I don't think so, but let's wait and see. Again, that's not something you should wait for. If you're waiting for 120 hertz on a laptop that's entry level price, I think you're putting your eggs in the wrong basket right now. Just assume it won't have it, and if it does have it, then you got a prize. But don't make your purchasing decision based on that. And the name. Now, we've been calling it the MacBook Air, but this actually might not be a MacBook Air. It might be a MacBook. In which case, this might not really be the entry-level laptop anymore. If that's the case, then the existing M1 MacBook Air may stay around. And this actually happens in the iPhone portion of their device lineup, where they'll leave some of the older devices there. So could the M1 processor stick around because the M1 MacBook Air sticks around? And then you'll have an entry-level MacBook Air, the one that you can buy right now, and a newer version that might just be called MacBook, which would also make sense since the rumor is we're going to see the squared off design rather than the tapered design. The tapered design has always been the Air. It's always been the traditional Air. Are we not getting a MacBook Air after all? And if it does get mini LED and the squared off edges and some of these other things, then maybe the price goes up. And if so, then the MacBook Air, the M1 current, becomes an even better deal, especially if the price drops. I'm starting really to convince myself here on video that this may not be a MacBook Air at all. We're just calling it MacBook Air because we don't know what else to call it. But maybe this is just the MacBook. Tell me in the comments below, what do you think? Is this going to be another MacBook Air or a MacBook? I'm kind of in the middle on this one. But ultimately, I think you should buy whatever makes the most sense for you and your budget. Right now, the M1 Macbook Air is an incredible value. The M2 Macbook Air or MacBook or whatever the heck they're going to call it could be a great value as well. It will likely be slightly more expensive, and I believe they're actually going to keep the MacBook Air around. There's no reason to get rid of it. And if they lower the price on that, then it becomes a better deal even still. Will you need the extra power of the new MacBook? Probably not. Will you need the new colors? Probably. I think I might need the new colors. But leave me a comment below. Let me know what you want to do, and we'll talk about it down there. I'll see you next time. Peace and love.